watched Jurassic World Rebirth, so you don't have to, and I have some thoughts. It was okay. Let's talk about it.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.
Guys, before we get into today's video, please like and subscribe. Yes, I went and watched Jurassic World Rebirth with my sister. We sat down in the theater. I was ready for an experience, and an experience I had. It was okay. You know, I've seen a lot of things leading up to this film with Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey, Mahershala Ali. So I guess, spoiler alert, I'm going to get into a plot summary here for those of you who have not seen the film yet and you intend to, go ahead and click away now and come back to me later. So the movie begins with Scarlett Johansson, who is a mercenary slash hired soldier, and she's approached by a big pharma executive slash representative of sorts who tells her that he needs her to go out to this island along the equator where I guess dinosaurs are living these days and get the DNA of 3 different dinosaurs. Why? Because this big pharma company wants to make a cardiac medication. Now, why do I care at all that she goes on this adventure? I don't know, but hopefully you guys figure that out along the way. At first, Scarlett Johansson is like, hell no, I'm not gonna go to this remote island and do this thing. And of course, the big pharma executive offers her $10 million, 10 millies. And she's like, you know what? On second thought, I will go. They then go to approach Jonathan Bailey, who plays your archetypal dinosaur scientist who is yet to see a dinosaur in the real world. And that's the drive that gets him attached to this project. And he's now going to adventure to this island as well. Now, I say archetypal for Jonathan Bailey's character, and honestly Scarlett Johansson's too, because they play the most pre-packaged typecast versions of female soldier and dinosaur scientist you've ever seen in your life. And this is no hate to either of those actors, because I love Scarlett and I love Jonathan Bailey. It just didn't hit for me, especially at the beginning of this film. Now, I, like probably many of you, saw a lot of PR leading up to this film, and a lot of it was very charming. Scarlett Johansson and Jonathan Bailey have a great chemistry together, at least when they're being themselves, and I thought for sure that was going to translate onto the screen. And then I got there, and it didn't. And this is very similar to the experience that I had with The Materialist recently. Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans were magic when they were doing PR interviews together, and then you watch the movie and the characters are flat. And I don't feel as though that's the actor's fault. It's probably the writers. And of course, I also saw some woke posturing leading up to this film. Many were remarking on the fact that Scarlett Johansson, who's a woman, Mahershala Ali, who's black, and Jonathan Bailey, who's gay, were going to be the lead characters on this film. And that was not translated into the film, which I could appreciate. But now we venture on to get the rest of our cast for this great dinosaur adventure that means nothing because we don't want Big Pharma to win. And introduced is Mahershala Ali, who is yet another mercenary slash hired soldier, and he brings in his little crew to help on this expedition. But now we have to find a way to care about Scarlett and Mahershala, and at this point, Scarlett is somebody who's willing to sell her soul and a bunch of dinosaur DNA for $10 million, and Mahershala is apparently a friend she's worked with in the past. Now, when we meet Mahershala, he and Scarlett have a heartwarming dialogue with sad music playing over it, where we learn that Mahershala had a son somewhere in the past who died, and that broke up his marriage. And Scarlett had some guy that she worked with in the past on a previous mission die as well. Do we know this son or this previous coworker? Absolutely not. But Mahershala and Scarlett have tears in their eyes, so now we care about them. I obviously cannot show you this scene for copyright reasons, but I will reenact it just for you. And mind you, you are just meeting these characters. And this scarf also going to matter later. I heard about Dougal. Yeah, it was an easy mission. We didn't expect to lose him. Car bomb. At least you went quick. Wasn't that quick? What about you and Jessica? How you two doing? We just couldn't find a way to make it work. Every time we looked at each other, we saw our son. It must make you really care about protecting kids, huh? Okay. So now we have Scarlett, Big Pharma, the scientist, Mahershala, and his crew, and we're all coming together to track down the DNA of 3 dinosaurs. One by sea, one by land, and one by air. And all we're missing is fire, because apparently this script was written by ChatGPT. Now our crew is together, we are headed towards the island, and we are almost there when mayday, 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 a family on a boat that is capsized calls in and is in need of rescue, and we turn around and go towards that family. An ethnically ambiguous family consisting of father, 2 daughters, and a daughter's boyfriend is now, just there at sea in need of rescue, even though this island is not only remote, but highly secure, as nobody is supposed to be here. No human is supposed to be around these dinosaurs for any reason whatsoever. So how did this family get here? Irresponsible father, I guess. And the father says the reason he's not irresponsible is because he's apparently done this expedition before. I have no second clue, guys. Now, I know what you're thinking. The introduction of this family is going to add stakes. These characters are going to mix with one another. These two groups have now come together to mingle and learn lessons and build character in relation to one another. Absolutely not. It actually serves no purpose whatsoever. But nonetheless, these characters crash land into an island after having collected one bit of dinosaur DNA from our sea dinosaur, and they are now on their expedition to get the other two. Now, a couple characters have died at this point, but I don't even feel the need to go over that because you don't even know these characters or care about them at this point. But nonetheless, we've crash landed, and now our family has gone its separate way from the original crew that was on this expedition for some reason. Now, with a crashed boat, you may be wondering, how are these individuals going to get off the island and return themselves home? Well, Scarlett Johansson's character has apparently accounted for that, and they have 24 hours to collect the 3 dinosaur DNAs, and a helicopter full of fully trained pilots is going to circle over the center or the helipad on this island, and if somebody's there, they'll pick them up. It's kind of hard to explain the middle of this film, not because anything complex or significant happens, but because they're just sort of trekking through the jungle, getting jump scares from dinosaurs. They get the land dinosaur DNA, so that's 2 out of 3, and the groups are remaining separate and going through their own little bits of turmoil with no character development whatsoever. One of the nicer scenes in this film is when they're actually collecting the DNA from the land dinosaur, and Jonathan Bailey, the scientist, gets to really be up close with and touch a dinosaur that he studied for quite some time, and you get a big moment for his character. And it's a pretty scene. But mixed in with a nice scene like that is a bunch of like near misses and inconsequential low stakes moments that happen with the family and this other group, again, that are not mingling with one another whatsoever. The most dumbfounding of these near misses for me is when the family is traveling on this journey towards the helipad and they end up encountering, I believe, a T-Rex. Now, they find themselves in the water on an inflatable boat, and this T-Rex is trying to capture them. Now, 3 of the family members end up in the water traveling through the rapids, and they get stuck behind some rocks, and they are waiting for the little daughter in their family who is stuck under an inflatable raft. Now, unfortunately, the T-Rex is going after this inflatable raft. The T-Rex picks up the raft, gives it a good couple, maybe 3 chomps, okay? This little girl gets away, makes it over to her other family members, and somehow, some way, this T-Rex ends up giving up on his journey to eat this family, and the inflatable raft that's been chomped on multiple times pops up in front of him. Is there even a single hole puncture on this raft? No. They get away on it. But as they journey through all of these near misses and deaths of characters that do not matter, they do end up retrieving the DNA of the air dinosaur, because Jonathan Bailey is actually able to get that out of one of the eggs. And just to make sure we don't hate Jonathan Bailey's character for puncturing a dinosaur egg, he says, I can do this without harming the dinosaur fetus. So after collecting all 3 dinosaur DNAs, our 2 groups, the family and the mercenaries, meet up once again to escape more dinosaurs at their final destination where the helipad is located. But guess what? The helicopter is missed, except it isn't missed. It is taken by a dinosaur, chomped on, and thrown out where it explodes, and all these pilots who just were nicely coming to hopefully save Scarlett Johansson lose their lives in a fiery crash. Apparently, dinosaurs are really great at destroying helicopters and not inflatable rafts. What? Deus Ex, luckily for all of these characters, they meet at the helipad at the same time, and their destroyed helicopter does not matter because they find a boat and they are able to escape, but not without Mahershala Ali's character having to go toe-to-toe with the biggest dinosaur in the whole film, which we barely see, all in efforts to save a little girl. Remember, because he had a son that died once. And for a moment, in just a moment, they make you believe that Mahershala Ali's character has been killed by this large dinosaur, but somehow, some way, he actually survives, he gets on the boat, and all of our main characters, every single one of our main characters, rides into the sunset virtually unharmed. The only majorly harmed character, I guess, is our dad of the family group, who at some point earlier in the film has broken his leg, except he's hopping on it like the damn train conductor in Polar Express. When I tell you this character is exhibiting Grandpa Joe levels of how the hell are you standing right now and dancing around? 'Cause I've got a golden ticket. That's what's happening. Our big pharma executive does end up getting chomped up by a dinosaur, which frees up the DNA for whatever way they want to now use this for, even though they were there for one sole mission. But honestly, at this point, I don't even know if I count this guy as a main character, even though he was meant to be the villain who pushes this story along in some way. Anyway, we knew he was going to die and he died. And that's the film Jurassic World Rebirth. That's how it goes. What ends up happening with the dinosaur DNA that was so important that it was worth $10 million? We don't know. Jonathan Bailey alludes to them wanting to open source the DNA to the public because the public will then create the cardiac medication, I guess, because we're all communist good Samaritans and everything should just be given to the people. I mean, I'm not advocating that Big Pharma get this DNA because ew, but what? So yeah, there's no stakes whatsoever. We went on a meaningless mission that had a meaningless end that lost a bunch of random characters that we did not care about on the way, and all of our main characters survive. But you know what else survives? Their fucking accessories, dude. Mahershala is wading through the water trying to escape a dinosaur. He's setting off flares. We're thinking that the dinosaur got him, and then that dude pops out of the water and into the boat, and he's still got his hat on. Mind you, Mahershala Ali is bald, okay? There's no bobby pins holding that damn hat on, and the hat survives. Scarlett, where's my damn scarf? Scarlett still got that ass scarf on by the end of the film. She's just rocking it, staying on. And Jonathan Bailey's character, who's got these glasses, which we're now referring to as the slutty little glasses, he literally falls off a cliff, is bang, 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 hit by trees. And guess what? He pops up at the bottom and the slutty little glasses are still on. So yeah, that's Jurassic World Rebirth. And I think it's so emblematic of everything that's going on in Hollywood and our entertainment and media these days, where we're just repackaging and creating yet another sequel or a prequel of something where it's not necessary because we're not being original. We're not adding to anything. If anything, we are taking away from, we are regressing. And for a movie called Rebirth, they should have called it Repackaged because nothing was really reborn here.
That is sort of an oaky afterbirth.
They didn't take anything great from the original Jurassic Park or any of its subsequent sequels. It's literally a mutation on Jurassic Park, which funnily enough is how this movie starts, with this idea that humans should not be mutating dinosaurs and trying to create something that is unnatural. Jurassic Park is all about messing with something that is natural and original, trying to create mutations, trying to build up entertainment and intrigue, and absolutely failing and being eaten because of it. And that's literally what Hollywood is doing today. Disney's doing it with recreations like Lilo and Stitch and Snow White. The DC Marvel superhero universe has been doing it with Spider-Mans and now a new Superman and Avengers Endgame. And now Universal Studios is doing this yet again with the whole Jurassic franchise. We're on movie 7 and they're not improving. So there you go. Watch it if you want to watch it. I will say I left the theater having had an all right experience. I didn't feel shitty leaving this film. I actually felt like there were some pretty funny moments. It was a good time. It was a fun enough watch to get by. But could it be much better? And could it maybe lean on some of the morals and themes of its own franchise? Absolutely. So with that, I'm going to leave you guys with a quote from Jurassic Park itself, and maybe our future Hollywood executives, producers, directors should listen to the original movie.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should.
Wasn't that quick? What about you and Jessica? How are you two doing? I mean, goddamn, holding this hat is too funny. Okay. We just couldn't find a way to make it work. You know, every time we looked at each other, we saw...
Focus again.
Damn it! Must make you really care about protecting kids, huh?
Yeah! That's good.
Yeah, you better. Yeah, you better.